Alright, buckle up, folks, because we're diving into a geopolitical showdown that's got everyone from Detroit to DC buzzing. Today, we're dissecting a potential power move from Canada that's reportedly sending shockwaves through the U.S. auto industry and, more specifically, the burgeoning electric vehicle (EV) sector. And the word on the street? It's something the former president never saw coming. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's set the stage. The automotive industry is a complex web of interconnected supply chains, international trade agreements, and deeply rooted economic ties. For decades, the U.S. and Canada have enjoyed a close, symbiotic relationship within this sector, largely thanks to agreements like NAFTA and its successor, the USMCA. This has fostered a highly integrated North American auto market, where parts and vehicles frequently cross the border. But whispers are growing louder about a potential Canadian strategy shift, something that could significantly alter this dynamic, particularly as the world accelerates its transition towards electric vehicles. What exactly is this power move we're talking about? While details are still emerging and subject to interpretation, the core of the discussion seems to revolve around Canada potentially leveraging its resources, policy incentives, or strategic partnerships to attract EV manufacturing and battery production investments, possibly at the expense of the U.S. One area where Canada could be making waves is in the critical minerals sector. EV batteries require a significant amount of minerals like lithium, nickel, cobalt, and manganese. Canada possesses substantial reserves of many of these resources and is actively working to develop its mining and processing capabilities. If Canada were to implement policies that prioritize supplying these critical minerals to companies investing in Canadian EV manufacturing, or offer incentives tied to using domestically sourced materials, it could create a compelling value proposition for automakers looking for secure and potentially more localized supply chains. Think about it. In a world increasingly concerned about supply chain resilience and geopolitical risks, having access to crucial battery components within a stable, politically aligned nation like Canada is a major draw. This could entice companies to establish battery plants and even assembly facilities north of the border, potentially diverting investments that might have otherwise gone to the U.S. Furthermore, Canada has been actively rolling out its own set of incentives to attract EV-related investments. This includes federal and provincial funding for battery plants, tax breaks for manufacturers, and initiatives aimed at developing a skilled workforce in the EV sector. If these incentives become significantly more attractive than what's on offer in certain parts of the U.S., it could tilt the playing field. The political dimension here is also crucial. The previous administration in the U.S. pursued a more protectionist trade policy, which sometimes strained relations with traditional allies like Canada. While the current administration has sought to repair some of those bridges, the memory of those trade tensions, particularly around the auto industry, might still linger in the minds of Canadian policymakers. They may see this moment as an opportunity to carve out a stronger, more independent position in the emerging EV landscape, ensuring Canada isn't just a supplier of raw materials but a key player in the entire value chain. What makes this particularly unexpected, especially from the perspective of the former president, is that during his time in office, the focus was often on bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. The idea that Canada, a close ally and trading partner, could be positioning itself to potentially attract automotive investment away from the U.S. might be seen as a direct challenge to that vision. Now, it's important to avoid hyperbole. The U.S. still holds significant advantages in the automotive sector, including a large domestic market, established infrastructure, and a skilled workforce. Many major automakers have significant investments in U.S. plants, and the Inflation Reduction Act in the U.S. also includes substantial incentives for EV manufacturing and battery production within the country. However, the potential for increased competition from Canada, particularly in the battery supply chain and EV manufacturing space, is real. This isn't necessarily about outright hostility, but more about Canada strategically positioning itself to capitalize on the global shift towards EVs and secure its own economic future. The implications for the U.S. auto industry could be significant. Increased competition could put pressure on U.S. manufacturers to innovate faster and potentially face challenges in attracting investments for new EV production facilities. The battery supply chain is particularly critical, and if Canada becomes a dominant player in sourcing and processing key minerals and manufacturing battery components, U.S. automakers could find themselves reliant on Canadian suppliers. This situation also highlights the importance of international cooperation and a coordinated approach to the EV transition in North America. Instead of viewing this as a competition, Some experts argue that the US and Canada should work together to build a strong, integrated North American EV ecosystem that can compete globally. This could involve aligning policies, sharing resources, and fostering collaboration in research and development. What are the potential responses from the US? We could see increased efforts to incentivize domestic mining and processing of critical minerals, further investments in US battery production, and potentially even renewed trade negotiations with Canada focused on the EV sector. The US government will likely be closely monitoring Canada's moves and assessing the potential impact on American jobs and industries. This situation is a reminder that the global transition to electric vehicles is not just a technological shift, but also a major economic and geopolitical one. Countries are jockeying for position to secure their place in this emerging industry, and long-standing relationships are being tested and re-evaluated. So, what do you think about all of this? Is Canada making a smart move to bolster its position in the EV market? Will this create significant challenges for the US auto industry? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more in-depth analysis of the automotive and EV industries, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next update. This is a story that's still developing, and we'll be here to keep you informed every step of the way. Stay tuned.